Wow. Did y'all know that the center of the world is located in Arizona? This is a pyramid that's supposed to be marking the center of the world, boss. I said the world, boss. A little town called Felicity. And in this town has some interesting monuments. I mean, boss, hey, boss man. This is everything you need to know about Felicity, the center of the world. So, some say California, some say Arizona. It's pretty much the border, you know what I mean? And it's a 3,000 acre spot. We gonna look into it a little bit. It's worth looking into. Oh man, this is amazing drop. You know, we dropped a little bit. We reposted some drop on IG. But I mean, they say inside this pyramid is like a marker. You stand on the marker, you're in the center of the world, boss. The world. Now we know navel, the navel Cuzco flow, and the navel and the center. I think Templar actually broke it down real beautifully when it comes to the navel and the center, man. Oh man, we gotta get that drop, man. But hey, out to the Templar. I just said that the center and the navel, you know, definitely can have a connection, right? You have a navel, you have a center, huh? Those who visit can enter a 21-foot tall pink granite pyramid, stand on top of a metal plaque that officially marks the spot that is the center of the world, boss. While recognized as such by both California's Imperial County and France's Institute of Geographic National. Come on, man. They want to make this like this some type of hoax. You know, remember that whole drop with the ZZYZX, and he was healing people with some water from the springs, and then they took it over and then they made it like a national, you know what I'm saying, one of them national park type flows that now you can pay to get admission into. He was healing people with the water and the ZZYZX, you know, ZZZZ, you know what I'm saying. Now this is supposed to be the center of the world, and it's not just some BS. I mean, it's actually recognized by the California Imperial County and France's Institute of Geographic National. The designation doesn't stem from science or a specific historic event, but rather the imagination and subsequent endeavors of its founders, Jacques Andre Estelle. So it's just his imagination. All these things, the first thing they do is say, oh, this is outlandish, it's unsubstantiated. Managa, they're official stories that he just retired with his wife, wanted to build a town. Are you serious, man? We're going to watch some video on this, and you're going to see these elaborate granite slabs, you know, perfectly carved. They have all this information that he wants to store on it, all engraved perfectly, beautifully. Pyramid, got a whole church built on top of a mound, which you know what that mound is, got something to do with the so-called Indian Nagas. We're going to dig on these Yuma Nagas. We're going to dig on these, how they say, Kishwa. You know, we're going to dig on this Kishwa. We're going to dig on these Khans, you know what I'm saying, that were there before the whole Yuma flow, and, you know, the movie 310, the Yuma and all that. Like, this is deep. And he gonna just put a church on the mound like the hijack always do. His French American, some connection to the Rockefeller family, all right. Estelle has for a very background working on Wall Street, serving as a Marine in the Korean War before becoming well known for his famous for being a parachutist. He co-founded Parachutes Incorporated, the country's first parachuting school, and often credited with bringing parachuting, yada yada yada. How do you get this type of budget to build this? Man, wait till you see this, man. From parachuting, man, from being in the Korean War, from working on Wall Street. Estelle had a habit of purchasing land. In about 1950s, he bought 2,600 acres in the Sonoran Desert. I told my wife, I don't know what I'm going to do with this bare land, but it has to be entertaining. Okay, it's just entertaining. It's just entertainment. It wasn't until the 1980s that Estelle decided he wanted to build a town and have a town recognized as the center of the world. So, wait, why not the center? Who just builds a town and goes out of his way to get it recognized by the French Institute of Geographic National, California Imperial County, that they got to recognize your outlandish claim that you built a town and called it the center of the world? That's like us having Joy World and we ain't playing. We say, nah, this is the center of the world. The world. First of all, it's a body bag for the illusion, because if it's the center of the world, then you ain't on no ball. Because where's the center of a ball? What land mass can you point to as the center of a ball? Unless you're talking about the inner core of the earth, right? Unless you're on more of a flat plane, circular flat plane that you can point out and say that's the center. But we know the center got to be over here, boss. We know that this is the old world. The Navel, right? Cuzco, Peru. We're talking Arizona's. Cali, we talking about vortexes that definitely connect to Peru. You know what I'm saying? Definitely connect with Cuzco as a navel, as a center. He just buys 2,600 acres and he says, hey, why not make this the center? That's a good joke. I want some entertainment. You think so? You buy that cover story, man. Yeah, boss. This is what? Glass and stone pyramid. Inside, they say, is a marker that demarks the center. And look at this mound back here. Managa, you know there's something there. They always put churches on top of our mounds. We've seen that repeatable and observable. Science, that's what they do. You want to see something crazy, boss? Because I'm about to get into some good stuff, man. Some OG stuff, some stuff to connect all this with a naga. We about to jump into Manasseh ben Israel and his world. We got it out the drop library. We're going to get into 1650. We're going to talk Thomas Thorogood. We're going to talk what they called the Indian problem. Yeah. Birdman hand rub, boss. Because for some reason, they had a Jewish Indian theory. A Jewish Indian theory. Man, that's crazy, because they also have like a Jewish Roman theory. A Jewish Roman Kalalus theory, right? Jewish Roman Indians. Jewish Indian theory. Whenever I tell students in America that there was a serious theory, serious, boss, not entertainment, years ago, that the Indians were Jews or Hebrews, Judah, and that some of the lost tribes were located in America, they looked blankly at me as if it was nonsense. Or they laughed embarrassingly to be in a room where such things are said. However, I quickly tried to calm their fears by pointing out that after Columbus met the Indians in 1492, there was a problem of accounting for who they were. Say it with me, boss. If they can't tell us who we are, how can they tell us who we're not? And if they didn't know who you were then, how the hell can they tell you who you are today? They had to create a theory. The Rise and Fall of the Jewish Indian Theory by Richard H. Popkin, man. First, you need to focus on the rise, because you know what the fall is. The fall is your conquering, invasion, genocide, Ame'rican Holocaust, the Holocaust on the Ame'rican, the Holocaust on Israel right here in America, the so-called Negro boss. Just understand, understand. You have a rise. That this rise, there was a rise of this theory. Why did this theory rise? Who would just raise up a theory about the indigenous people of America being Hebrews, right? Who would just make some shit like that up? But you got to dig on the hope of Israel. By Manasseh ben Israel, man. So Columbus, they trying to say, if everyone on the surface of the earth was a descendant of Adam and Eve and the seven survivors of the flood, then the Indians had to be connected to the biblical world. Columbus himself had no problem. He thought they were Asians. Come on, boss. Meditate. Activate. I need your concentration, Con. In the 1530s maps, this is Asia. We're talking about 1650 with this Manasseh ben Israel flow. If Columbus thought he was in Asia, that's because 100 years earlier, 120 years earlier, the maps have this as Asia. There ain't no North America. America is Asia. They're going to talk about Tartary. Remember this, Carta Marina Navola Tavola 1561. Remember this, man. As it says, Indy right in your face. As it says, Asia right in your face. As it says, Grand Tartary right in your face. As it says, China right in your face. But it don't say no North America. But it says Louisiana, boss. It says Canada, boss. Canada, Louisiana, China. Come on, boss. Where's North America? Asia, Tartary. So when they say Tartary, they're talking so-called North America, man. Which is Asia. Which is Asia Major. Remember the Parcachi Tommaso Carta de Navegar. 1620, we talking 1650, so this is right in the ballpark of what Columbus would have been using. And what do you see? Cathay, right? Cathay, Cathay, India, China, Mexico, Florida, India, Superior. China, China, India, India, America. Huh? I see Florida. I see India, Superior. I see Cathay, right? So keep all this in your mind, bone. Columbus thought he was in Asia. No, he was in Asia before the maps were changed to deceive us as to where the places are. Columbus himself had no problem. He thought they were Asians, right? Since he was sure that he had reached Cathay. Didn't we just see Cathay? Did we just see Cathay? So every place they naming was actually on the maps. We're talking 1500s. Then here comes their Amerigo Vespucci when we did the whole job talking about Amalric, Macaire, Theodorus, right? Calalus, Macaire, Amaric was this Khan's name back in the 700s, 800s. Like, stop playing. These were Hebrew Davidic princes. The popes declared the Indians to be fully human. That's weird because when they say human, it almost sounds like human, right? Like Yuma, like Yuma, back to this center of the world talk. I'm just making some points right quick. Columbus thought he was in Asia. What did Columbus want again? What did he say in this Spain Biblioteca Columbina 1501? 1501. Because I'm looking at 1530 maps, right? Columbus found us in 1492. We're looking at 1531 maps, right? Oh, he thought he was in Cathay. He thought you were Asians. What do you see here? Cathay, right? It's in our face. We just gotta do the digging. But now that we've been digging on it, now the water's flowing. The well, the water's flowing. Yeah. America is Asia. I didn't say it. It is Asia. Cathay. Columbus thought they were Asians since he was sure he reached Cathay. Cathay. This is the beginning of the book or collection of authorities, sayings, opinions, and prophecies concerning the need to recover the holy city and Mount Zion. He's looking for Israel, balls. Columbus is looking for the Jews, Hebrews. He's looking for Zion. What did he say when he found that Orinoco flow? From xroads.virginia.edu, Columbus was keenly interested in finding the lost Garden of Eden or the lost tribes of Israel. Because if you're looking for Eden, you're looking for the Hebrew, the old world, the biblical world, right? Columbus's copious marginal notes demonstrate his abiding interest in mapping the location of the lost garden. When he stumbled onto the island of Hispaniola, Columbus believed he was close to rediscovering Eden. So hold up. He thought he was in Asia. He's lost. He thought he was in India. We got India Superior on the map in America. We got Asia on the map of America. He's looking for Cathay, which is China. Marco Polo called Cathay China. We got Cathay on the map of America. And he's looking for Eden. He finds the Orinoco River, which is that river, right? Near Venezuela and all that. It's a great river. He's never seen a river so great with fresh water running so close to the salt water. I have never read or heard of so great a quantity of fresh water so coming into and near the salt water. But it's still fresh water. He's writing to his hijacks, king and queen, right? Isabella and Ferdinand. Oh man, he says, hey, and the very mild climate also supports this view, and if it does not come from there, if this water ain't flowing from paradise, If this water ain't flowing from paradise, it's a greater marvel still. If this water ain't flowing from paradise, prophecies concerning the need to recover the holy city and Mount Zion. If this water ain't flowing from terrestrial paradise balls, I don't know, it's a bigger marvel than that. In other words, this water gotta be flowing from paradise. And we know that it's flowing right out of Mount Roraima. And Mount Roraima is the source of this Orinoco River that Columbus is saying is flowing out of paradise, and is flowing out of this tree stump. And this tree stump is also the source of the Amazon. Amazing. Amazon. Venezuela, Amazons, right? This tree is flowing water so great that Columbus knows it's coming from the source. The source gotta be terrestrial paradise. We got a book in the library called Devil Tree of El Dorado, because they calling this the Devil Tree because it got the dragons. Hello. Calling your dragons devils again. But they're the devil because they're the adversary, not the dragon. Not the dog-headed St. Christopher, right? Who's letting you know in his Biblioteca Colombina in Sevilla, Spain, 1501, right, that he's looking to recover Mount Zion, the holy city. And then you get his other folios talking about he's looking to recover paradise. He's looking to recover the Garden of Eden. What does Eden got to do with the holy city and Mount Zion? And the Orinoco flowing out of the tree stump, Mount Roraima. Mount Roraima. And Mount Roraima, it is the source of many rivers, including the Amazon and Orinoco. And the Orinoco. I've never read or heard of so great a quantity of fresh water coming from this tree, going near the salt. Man, if it don't be flowing from paradise, it seems to be a greater marvel. For I do not believe there is no in the world a river so great and so deep. And that's a lot coming from an explorer. Columbus's belief that he was near earthly paradise is evident in his first letter to the Spanish monarchs. He notes the paradisical beauty of the islands, the mildness of the climate. We talking Americas, we talking India Superior, we're talking Asia. The abundance of food, the innocent charm of the natives. That's you, my Nagas. You didn't have to be all scary and warlike. I mean, you were in paradise. He found you in paradise. They found us in paradise. And the richness of the island's natural resources and language suggesting that he believed himself close to the lost earthly paradise. Columbus knew he was in paradise. We're going to read in this Manasseh ben Israel flow that they were millenarians. Millenarians means that their world, they believe, was ending in 1666. They knew they had to find another world to invade, right? Because their world was dying. They were dying. They had the Black Plague. They weren't living past 30. They had disease, infested water. They needed to find a new place to spread. The parasite needed some new breeding ground, right? The millenarians thought the world was ending in 1666. When they found you, that extended their heaven, that extended their world, that gave them paradise. They will never take the foot off your neck, my naga, because you give them more life. But look what they've done with the place. Look what they've done with America. Look at what they've done with the place. It's all diseased, infested. They spraying the skies. They saying, oh man, they got to keep tabs on everybody's garden. They don't want no one growing their own food. They want to shoot stuff up in us. They want to, man. Look at what they done with the earthly paradise, right? Yeah, yeah. He came to recover the holy city. This manuscript, commonly known as El Libro de las Profecías, the Book of Prophecies, was compiled by Christopher Columbus himself. Monago, this ain't no play. He's looking for the holy city. He's not just looking for India and some spice routes. He's looking for Zion. He wants that Amazon, right? He's looking for Zion. He's looking for the Amazon. And the Amazon, the Amazon is flowing out the tree. It's flowing out the tree. Now, what does this tree got to do with the center of the world? I always call it the tree of life because if this is the source of the Amazon and the Orinoco that Columbus says is so great and deep and fresh water, he ain't ever seen nothing like it before. I'm just going to go call this the tree of life until proven proven differently. Give me a greater, most abundant tree. You know what I'm saying? This is our tree of life, man. This is where some will call El Dorado, cities of gold, inside this tree, right? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. So, Columbus himself had no problem. He thought they were Asians. 1531, Columbus wrote his folios in the Biblioteca de la Colombina, 1501, 1502. 30 years later, this is still the map he's using. Then we fast forward to 1650, they're writing about Columbus and all that. They're still using this orientation. Florida, Mexico. Oh, I'm sorry, Mexico is Paris, Paris, or Parsia, or Persia, boss, Pars. He's looking for Cathay, right? He thought they were Asian since he was sure he had reached Cathay. Let's back it up, man. Let's get this, we're just establishing a few things here, man. We're going to go quickly. The Rise and Fall of the Jewish Indian Theory by Richard H. Popkin. Then we're going to come right over here and tell you everything you need to know about the center of the world. It's pretty magnificent. The chapel on the hill was the second structure he decided to build along with an accompanying hilltop so that the church could be the highest point. So he built the hilltop and the church to put on it. Ain't that something? I'm not particularly religious, he said. He told Roadside America, but if you're going to build a house of God, it's going to be on the highest spot. So he brought 150,000 tons of dirt he just brought 150,000 tons. Yeah. Hey, where can I get some dirt? I need 150,000 tons to build a hill that resembles a mound. Because we can't tell them that We just gonna put a church on top of an ancient Indian burial ground or an ancient Indian pyramid or mound. We can't say that. We can't say that. Come on, man. Look at this. Look at this. He got the spiral staircase from the actual Eiffel Tower in Paris, right? We just talking pariahs, right? This guy just got a lot of loot, huh? Yeah, let me get that Eiffel Tower staircase. He got these long granite slabs with a lot of stuff on them, a lot of hijack. The theory of evolution and all the fake history of the world, so that one day someone can stumble on this and get all this fake ass history, right? Yeah. Oh yeah, this is gonna be fun. This is gonna be fun. Yeah, buddy. What does Ko the Good Dragon have to do with the center of the world, boss? You know this is his book, right? Yeah, same guy. Same guy. He's writing books, he's building mounds, he's building pyramids. After writing the book Ko the Good Dragon, at the center of the world, he convinced Imperial County to legally recognize the area on his land as the official spot of the center of the world. Next, he established his town in 1986, naming it after Felicity, his wife. So this book seems to be pivotal in convincing Imperial County to legally recognize the area on his land. How do you get any county? I mean, let a group of Nagas go to the county and say, I want to legally recognize Joy World as the official spot of the center of the world. How do you, if they legally recognize that, that means there's some validity to it. You can't write a fairy tale like they like to say, oh, it's just a fairy tale. But remember, the fairies are code word for dragon. And I can't make this stuff up, boss. Fairies are dragons. So this dragon tale is a tale about a good dragon at the center of the world. And whatever this symbolizes, it was useful in convincing the Imperial County to legally recognize this area as the official spot of the center of the world, which again can't be no ball. He wrote a children's book. And like a here it go. Now I've been looking for PDFs of this stuff. Can't find a PDF for Drop Nation. I implore you to go do what you do, Drop Nation. Do what you do best, man. Do what you do. Pop off, man. Wow. Okay. I can't even get a summary. Like I've been looking for summaries. Y'all let me know if you find a good summary or PDF. You know, either way will get us a step closer. But this ain't no joke. Inscribed by the author to Deb and Agnes Drake. Whoa. So Drake is dragon, by the way. And he's dedicating this to Agnes Drake with best wishes from all good dragons. Y'all see any code word, any coding in this stuff? He's inscribing this, dedicating this to Deb and Agnes Drake. Draco. Best wishes from all good Drakes, right? All good dragons. Who are they calling good dragons? This is kind of creepy, right? I mean, come on. Co. You know, COE means something, right? The good dragon at the center of the world. Why would he use dragons? Out of anything he could use, why would he use dragons? Why would he use dragons while dedicating this to a Drake? Dragons everywhere, man. All right. Looking on Amazon, and what does it say? Can I buy it off your Amazon? Oh, it's out of print. Oh man, it's out of print. Out of print, y'all. Can't get it. They got all kind of other suggestions, man, but they don't have this in Amazon. Okay. It exists, but it's not in print. Okay. Not in print. Connection to the Rockefellers, I don't know. I don't have a hard hit. I mean, that's what some sources say. And this thing required a tremendous amount of funding. When we watch the video, you'll see all these long, like single slabs of granite. Enormous budget this thing took just for entertainment because you were a Marine in the Korean War. I don't buy that story, man. Andre Estelle, born in France, entered Pepperdine at 16. Okay, well, we know we're talking Ivy Leagues now, and you know what comes with that. Graduating in 1949 after serving in the Marine Corps, he established parachuting as a sport in America. He has been chairman of the State Commission in Massachusetts, water commissioner in Imperial County, California. Kohler, water commissioner, man. Over the water, huh? Co-leader of a National Geographic Society expedition, later founding the town of Felicity, named after his wife. Created the Museum of History in Granite. 1969 was awarded the Diplôme Paul Tissandier by the Federation of Aeronautique International. I'm sure they gave that to someone who was Bush, you know what I mean, was on some play, right? They just gave him these distinguished awards because he wasn't doing nothing, right? They're officially recognizing him in every way possible. So why, when he makes a claim of something being the center of the world, why is that suddenly just entertainment? What entertainment is that? Like, what do they get out of that entertainment when they know that these are, scientific investigations, man? 2003, Estelle was awarded the Legion of Honor, France's highest decoration. And you telling me he's on some play? He also received the European Air and Space Medal in 2007, a citation from the Senate of Massachusetts. Named honorary citizen of Yuma, Arizona in 2007, and of Margency, France 2016. He received the Alumni Achievement Award of the Stony Brook School in 2010. He's an honorary member of the U.S. Army Golden Knights and the U.S. Navy Shooting Star. His 1957 parachute, using his revolutionary idea of very low porosity cloth, is the first sports parachute, and now in the Smithsonian Institution. Among unusual recognition, Estelle is an honorary Master of Sport of the Soviet Union, 1956. First class honorary Legionnaire of the French Foreign Legion, 2013. An outstanding Marine, signed by 2 commandments of the United States Marine Corps, General Robert H. Barrow, Paul X. Kelly. 1989, the third commandment, General Charles C. Krulak wrote, "We are a better Corps today because of you." He has received many commendations about Felicity and the Museum of History and Granite. He's received a commendation, man, because he ain't playing. They didn't say this was a joke. Reminds me of the dude that did the coral reef, the whole coral, the whole world with the coral. And it's all like very technical, mathematical, and all that. They try to say that's just some crazy man just making all these measurements in coral and all that, but it all deals with frequency and like Tesla secrets and all that stuff, man. So they always try to make these people crazy. The people, the dude that was over the ZZY, ZX, they took him over, try to act like he crazy because he's making people feel better by sending them the water from the springs. But he crazy. Oh, you have created an extraordinary monument to all humankind and done so with class and thoroughness, because he ain't on no play. So when he claims this is the center of the world with all those distinguishments, man, you might want to listen. And I'm just looking at, I put up a bunch of wikis, man, just to get some surface level flow and introduction to a little bit about what he's doing. I'll leave some of this for you, man, but a lot of this is backing what we were just talking about, the Golden Knights, all the awards he received. Official center of the world, man. Even the French government recognized this place as the center of the world. And it doesn't say that it was a joke. Or, where do you see ha ha ha? Where do you see ha ha ha? I don't see no joke. Jokey joke. Yeah, it sounds crazy if you think you're on a ball. But if not, you're like, whoa. You really said that? Okay, John Andre. Let's look more into this good dragon before we get into Manasseh. How much? How much, boss? If you want a good paperback, it's going to be at least $100. It's only 2 available, so you better hurry up and get yours, because they're not giving us no rundown, no synopsises. This one costs $100 in thrift books, if they still got it in stock. Let's look at Thorn Books. Oh, man. Managa, this one costs $500. Now, this is a children's book you never heard of, so it can't really be written for children. It seems like he put information inside of a children's book. Why else would you pay $500 for it? Because ain't no child saying, mommy, please give me this Cole and the Good Dragon book for $500. They want an Xbox, they want a Nintendo Switch, whatever, they want a PlayStation. They ain't asking for a $500 book. So what is in this $500 book? So we're going to come right back to this. And yeah, we'll look at check out SoCal Urbex's flow of coal and a good dragon at the center of the world. First, let's get some drop. Let's get some drop and make that dismount. Halal HaWah. Hope you're enjoying the 432 hertz singing bowls. You know what I mean? Some great frequency to start your top of the soul. Halal HaWah. No conference dealing with Manasseh and Israel would be complete without a discussion of the Jewish Indian theory, which was dealt with in Manasseh's most famous work, The Hope of Israel. That's also in our Drive library. Though Manasseh was far from an advocate of the view, his discussion became crucial at the time, and he was revived until well into the 19th century. So his discussion became crucial at the time and was revived until well into the 19th century. The history of the theory proves an insight into the changing ways Europeans and European Americans saw their place in the world. So the hijack's looking for their place in the world. Your place is already solid. You know what I'm saying? Your place is foundational. Them looking for their place means they have to hide your place. They got a bunch of theories about you. They just want to know where they fit in. The changing ways they perceive the world. This paper will deal with the crisis. What's the crisis? About interpreting the Ame'rican Indians around 1650. Since when does interpreting who we are become a crisis to hijack city? Is this why they want to keep you blind, deaf, and dumb, extinguish your capacity to see the light, take away your dragonfly perspective of yourself, of your creator, of each other, demoralize you, make you feel hopeless? So what we're reading right now is a crisis to hijack city. This is dealing with the crisis about interpreting you, who you are, who we are. And say it again with me, boss. If they can't tell us who we are, if it's a crisis to interpret the Ame'rican Indians, then they can't tell us who we're not when we say we are who we are. They can't say, no, you're not. We say we Judah. They can't say, no, you're not, because they can't tell us who we are. It's a crisis. Interpreting us is a crisis. You can't tell me who I'm not. You don't know who I am. With Manasseh's resolution of the crisis and with the impact his resolution had on millenarian thinking, didn't we just say these people are millenarians, boss? Relating to Christian millenarianism, a person who believes in the doctrine of the millennium. All right. 1,000 years. A millennium is a period of 1,000 years. When we speak of the millennium, we refer to 1,000 years following the Savior's second coming. During the millennium, Okay. Millennium. But what's a millenarian? The doctrine or belief of in the future, 1,000 year age of blessedness, beginning with or culminating in the second coming. So when they found us here, they thought that was the beginning of the second coming and yada yada. So that gave them an additional 1,000 years, Managa. This is deep shit, right? This is deep stuff. Hijack's on the clock, according to their prophecies and their new testes. When they found us, boom, we got another 1,000 years. This is gonna be a golden age. So when you see them walking around Beverly Hills and Hollywoods and all this stuff, they are in a golden age. They're in heaven. This is their heaven. Literally, man. They don't have one after this. This is their heaven. You're witnessing their heaven. And they're witnessing your hell, because your hell means you don't have your land. You don't know who you are. You're in a state of what they will call hell. Or we're in a, we're in a place that we will call, you know what I mean? Because based on what we normally have and who we are, this is a sad state of disregard we in. No code, hopeless, and yet there's still a remnant. It is central to the teachings of groups such as the Plymouth Brethren, Adventist, Latter-day Saints, Mormons, Jehovah's Witnesses. Yeah. So this all things being changed, you're living it. From where they were before they found you to now, this is fundamental transformation. This is a all things change society, right? This is an experiment. They would call this the American experiment, right? Then they call the on the Queen Charlotte show, for those that caught that, spinoff of the Bridgerton series, but they called that the Great Experiment. The Great Experiment. Gotcha. All things will be changed. We just getting some drop on this millenarians, this whole 1,000 years business. We reconned this before, and it brought up this date, man, 1666. We'll see if we run into it again, but a lot of them thought that was the day of this cataclysms, or either that or the second coming, or something was happening in 1666 for these people. We'll keep digging on it, but you see that this is a real thing, man. These millenarians, man. I mean, the more we dig into this, you'll have a little more understanding of some of these, hijack city ideologies, man. Denominations that a golden age or paradise will occur on earth prior to the last judgment and future eternal state of the world to come. They also call it Kilianism or Kilian, Chiliism, something like that. You see, they talk a lot about Satan and his 1,000 years, and everything's revolving around the hijack playbook, so-called New Testament. Now, this one here again focuses on the 17th century or the 1600s movement centered on the self-proclaiming messiahship Zabate Ziva. They got him right in between. This was 1676 to 1626. All right, to get more specific. Yeah, man, it's a lot to dig on with these millenarianisms and millenarists and all that, and they even connected to the Zoroastrianism flow. All right, so just keep all this in mind as we dig. So this paper will deal with the crisis about interpreting the American Indians around 1650, with Manasseh's resolution of this crisis, with the impact of his resolution had a millenarian thinking and politics in the second half of the 17th century, with the revival of Manasseh's theory in the colonial America, with the struggle over the Jewish Indian theory. From now on, I'm going to say Hebrew Indian theory because they're not finding no Jews over here calling them Indians, right? They're finding Judah, you dig? In the early United States history until it was rejected by President Jefferson, with the lingering aspects of the view and in other 19th century theories, and finally with its demise with the rise of racist anthropology and American nationalism. So when they say the fall of this theory, the fall of this Jewish Indian theory is the rise of racism. When they say that Prester John's your last noble image to counter the one that was to come, that one that was to come, this out of Africa and this brute black slave, black, not no regal, not no royal. You know, your image changed with this idea of superiority and these, race categories or something. Before everybody knew that it was a copper color party. When you talk royals, more and more they created a ideology of black versus white versus, you know what I'm saying? The rise of this anthropology, racist anthropology, American nationalism became the fall or the demise of their Hebrew Indian connection. And when we talk to Kumse, having this clear connection that we're reading in these books, these calling Tecumseh a Hebrew, calling these tribes Hebrews, going and showing like views of the Hebrews, James Adair breaking down, all these authors breaking it down, the connection between the Ame'rican and the Hebrew. We seeing Hebrew artifacts coming out of Kalu's Los Decalogue stone in New Mexico with the Ten Commandments and Picto Paleo Hebrew. Columbus looking for the Hebrews and the Hebrew gods. Columbus looking for the Garden of Eden, but is in India superior. What's the connection between the Indians of India Superior and the Hebrews? Columbus brought a Hebrew interpreter, Louis Torres. There seems to be a connection between the Indians and Hebrews. Clearly, whenever I tell students in America that there was a serious theory years ago that Indians were Hebrews and that some of the lost tribes were located in America, they look blankly at me as if it's my nonsense, or they laugh embarrassedly to be said. However, I quickly try to calm their fears of pointing out that after Columbus met the Indians in 1492, there was a problem of looking for who they were. They can't tell us who we are. How could they tell us who we're not? When we say we Hebrew, when we say we Indians, right? India superior, indigenous, autonomous, all that, they can't say no, you're not. there's a problem. There's an accounting for who you are and where you come from. If everyone on the surface of the earth was a descendant of Adam and Eve and the 7 survivors of the flood, then the Indians had to be connected to the biblical world. Columbus himself had no problem. He thought they were Asians since he was sure that he had reached Cathay. America Vespucci was a bit more baffled. He knew that the Indians were not Stoic nor Epicureans, but was not sure who they might be. The Pope declared the Indians to be fully human. Well, thank you, man. I think you're talking about Yuma. But let's go. Various explorers and missionaries offered theories tracing the Indians back to migrations from the Middle East, from Phoenicia, Arabia, or maybe from Solomon's Ophir. Hmm. Hmm. So people's theories are connecting you to Solomon's Ophir, Phoenicia. To deny a biblical origin for the Indians was to see them and their history as outside of Scripture and Scripture as incomplete and inadequate. Only a few hardy souls in the 16th century dared suggest this. Paracelsus, Giordano Bruno, Christopher Marlowe, and maybe Sir Walter Raleigh. Bruno had read about the Aztec calendar stone, which once discovered and deciphered, was promptly buried for more than 2 centuries. What was on this Aztec calendar stone that they reburied it for 200 years? They said, nah, no, boss. 2 centuries. It led him to embellish Paracelsus's theory that there were multiple origins of mankind. Now, this is 500 years ago. We got theories today talking about the same thing, that there's more than one creation story. There's more than one origin story or reality. Let's go. Marlowe heard of the findings of Raleigh's trip to Virginia and had probably met Bruno. Marlowe is supposed to have given a lecture in which he claimed that Indian history was 16,000 years old. Huh? That's just what they know. Hence, much older than the world according to the Jewish calendar boss. They can't tell us who we are. How can they tell us who we're not? If we predate their calendars, or according to the revised dating system of Archbishop Ussher. In the early 17th century, various Spanish explorers and theologians debated the origin of the Indians, always indicating that the solution had to involve tracing them back to their biblical roots. So they knew that these cons over here in America, or Asia, or Cathay, or India Superior, or Antioch had biblical roots. Columbus looking for the Garden of Eden over here, man. Finds the Orinoco flow over here. Amazon. He's looking for the holy city in Mount Zion, Con. More and more refined theories develop, some just simple migration views to the effect that the Indians, the Europeans, Asiatics, and Africans all got to where they are now by migrating after Noah's flood and the dispersion after the Tower of Babel episode. That's pretty much kind of what's being regurgitated today. Detailed histories of Europeans, Asians, and Africans' travel already existed, and ones suitable to account for the Indians were added. Most of these were not intended to glorify or extol the virtues of the Indians, who were being horribly exploited by the conquistadors, genocide, Ame'rican Holocaust. Only the theory of Bartolome de las Casas, the defender of the Indians, involved first making them co-equal descendants of Adam and Eve. Better people than the Europeans because they had not been corrupted. And some, even the very best people, the elect, described by St. Paul, who are to be preserved until the end of time to rejoin, that's the hijack, JC, in his kingdom on earth. We are rejoining HaWah. We are rejoining our Creator. Only, you dig? Casas and his followers, who tried to create a millennial state without Spanish conquistadors in Guatemala, introduced a supernatural element into the theories about the Indians. Oh, he went super naga on them. So Las Casas tried to create a millennial state without Spanish conquistadors in Guatemala. That's interesting. That's interesting. And he introduced a supernatural element into his theory. Okay. Namely that some of them had special properties that were crucial in providential times to come. Some of these Indians were pretty special. And whatever powers you got, Manaka, are crucial in providential times. That's like, you know, spiritual, religious, you know what I'm saying, uh, prophetic times to come, right? This view may have interacted with a Morano millenarianism that developed in the late 16th, 17th centuries in New Spain, and to the effect that HaWah, that God, would save the faithful, the hidden Hebrews in America. And remember, you're hidden because just like Jack Forbes wrote in the Red Black People's book that we read quite extensively as part of our American Holocaust radio show, coming back in hot, but he wrote very clearly that it's 3 or 4 times harder to navigate on the waters, coming here on the Atlantic or any of that stuff because you're going against the tide. In other words, you can float on a raft from Mexico to Ireland. Like you could take the Gulf Stream without paddling nothing. You could just ride that like an escalator. You can just ride it without doing anything and end up over there. But to come back over here, he said 3 or 4 times the sweat, 3 or 4 times the time, all that. So it shows that you are hidden. It is hard to get here unless they got help, right? And we know these hijacks had help. Our own brothers, our own sisters made treaties with these hijacks, gave them the drop to get over here. And did they bring people over here? Nah, they found people here. They brought people to help them, you know what I'm saying, in this more and more war. But they weren't just bringing all black people over here. Nah, they were finding so-called black people over here. You didn't make good slaves, so they had to bring other people to make good slaves because you were fighting the Indian wars the whole damn time. How could you be fighting all of them Indian wars and still be making some good slaves? That don't make no sense. Make it make sense. At the same time, from around 1640 to 1650, a difficulty emerged in accounting for the Indians and in relating them to religious developments in European history. A difficulty emerged in accounting for the Nagas and in relating you Nagas to religious developments in European history. On the other hand, the French Morano Millenarian Isaac La Perriere offered his theory that the Indians, like the South Sea Islanders, the Chinese, and lots of other groups, were not descendants of Adam. Whoa. Nah, boss, they came from somewhere else. They must be aliens, man. La Perriere wrote his statement of this around 1642, but only published it in 1655. He, the secretary of the Prince of Condé, showed his theory to people in various parts of Europe and gathered new evidence for it from his discussions with scholars. His case, briefly, was that mankind existed for an indefinitely long period of time. Because the human race was such a mess, a war of all against all, God created Adam, the first Jew, as a means of saving everyone. The Adamites were called, then were rejected when JC came. Okay. And were now about to be recalled. Their recall with the arrival of the JC Jewish Messiah, would lead to the rebuilding of Jerusalem and a messianic world in which everyone, pre-Adamites, Adamites, and post-Adamites, would flourish in peace and happiness. Goodness gracious. But only Jews were Adamites. Perriere insisted that his theory would better explain what we know of ancient pagan history of other cultures found through the voyages of discovery and also the anomalies in the text of the Bible. So again, they're saying that there's separate origins altogether for you knockers. That's their theories. We're reading their theories. La Perriere's theory was answered long before it was published by the great Dutch scholar Hugo Grotius, who saw the work in manuscript. In 1643, he wrote a pamphlet on the origins of the American people. Man, let's hear about this jabroni's theory. And claimed they were descendants of the Viking exploration. Damn. So if we know who these Vikings or six kings or Hyksos kings, Vikings, VI is six, the Roman numeral. The six kings, he's saying that we are descendants of these six kings. All right. La Perriere became Europe's leading expert on the Eskimos in order to answer Grotius and point out that if Grotius could solve the Indian crises, right? The Indian, Managa, you a problem, you a crisis. Do you see why they don't want to take their foot off your neck bone? You a problem. Your origin's a problem. Your existence is an anomaly. By appeal to the Vikings, then what about the Eskimos who were in Greenland when the Vikings got there? Okay. Grotius' solution was just a new version of connecting the Indians to the European biblical world. La Perriere sought to sunder the world's entirely and restrict divine history to Jewish history. This might easily account for the many kinds of peoples in the world, but it also required a radical rereading and rewriting of the accepted scriptural picture. All this La Perriere's many critics, including Manasseh, were not ready to do. As the English began colonizing New England, the Scots, Nova Scotia, the Swedes, New Sweden, Delaware, these Protestant missionaries and settlers sought to understand who they were dealing with and where these people came from. Can't tell you who you are. How could it tell you who you're not? Two of the leading English millenarians of the 17th century, the very pious and highly learned Joseph Mead of Cambridge, who had deciphered the chronologies of Daniel and Revelation, and his student, the Cambridge Platonist Henry Moore, offered a most negative theological interpretation of the American Indians. Let's hear this jabroni's hijack ideologies, man. But let's go. As Europe was, according to them, reaching its millenarian climax by Naga. What did we just say? What did we just say? Right? Europe was reaching what they're calling its millenarian climax. In other words, it was dying. It had reached its climax. It was a wrap. They had to find somewhere for this JC to have his second coming, right? They had to find a new heaven. They had to extend their life. The new world, right? They needed a new world, Khan. So they're saying that this climax is being reached that would occur between 1650 and 1680. What did I say? Some say it was exactly 1666, all right? With the conversion of the Jews, the Hebrews. So to them, the fact that you are Hebrews in America, that it was now up to them to convert you, to prepare you for the second coming of JC. Like, this is their ideology. This is Hijack City Blueprint 101. Millenarians, man. Research this. You keep hearing about it, right? You keep reading about it. God was revealing aspects of the world hitherto unknown in 1600s. Through allowing for the increase of human knowledge, partly through the extension of navigation. Cathay Asia. Tartaria, Asia is North America. China is North America. India is North America. India Superior is North America. Ka, Tangu. 1620, right? 1508. Planis Fiero de Roselle. North America is India Superior. Appalachian. Yeah, boss. Florida, India, Florida, India, Florida, India. So they in the 1600s, boss. We are in the 1600s. We're talking navigare. We're talking navigation. God was revealing aspects of the world hitherto unknown through allowing the increase of human knowledge, partly through the extension of navigation, and commerce. The Indians so discovered were the children of Satan. Damn. But you're raping, murdering, pillaging, stealing, lying, like you're doing everything satanic. You're building churches on top of mounds, boss. What happened to the Indians that were the Hebrews? See, when these people walking around Beverly Hills, when these people walking around these nice areas all throughout and thinking that they got some privilege, because their ancestors fought in these wars, and they want to mark these wars and Korean wars and all these Indian wars they fought in, all this bloodshed and massacre and genocide. When they realize who they did this to this day, all the lynchings, all this shit, man, all this stuff, to even to this day, getting gunned down by the Popo, discriminated against to this day, when you realize who you've been doing this to, it's a problem. That's why this is the Indian crisis, the Indian problem, man, because we're not just Indians, man. We are the children of HaWah. We are those people you've been reading about in your scriptures when you painted your images on our images. When you realize who you did this to, there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. There will be an influx in y'all trying to get right, trying to, suddenly do right by us. But what you won't do is give us back our land, right? So check it. Get the drop, pull it up, let's go. We're going to read quickly, let's go. So they calling us the children of, Satan is calling us the devil, who had been driven out of the old world when Jesus arrived. So they're now saying, this is another jabroni. These are all theories we're reading about who we are, right? They can't tell us who we are. How could they tell us who we're not? So now their theory is that we were driven out of their world when JC came. And now we were to be destroyed by his second coming. And by them saying that, that's their decree, just like the Papal Bull, Doomed Diversas, Papal Bulldog, 1452, saying subjugate and vanquish these people, yada yada, steal their stuff, take their stuff, give it to your successors, give it to your descendants. Again, now we were to be destroyed by JC, by his second coming. And now, black man, black woman, you are worshiping their Christ, their anointed. You put a Hebrew name to it, and it's the same damn story, and you think it's somebody different. You think it's a new power because you make them Hebrew eyes. You take off the blue eyes. You make his eyes fiery. Stop it, man. It's the same Zeus. Their Zeus is your destruction by default. This is their playbook. Now we were to be destroyed by his second coming. The Indians were purely malevolent beings whose total defeat was to be their only contribution to the course of divine history. Damn. Oh, if we could extinguish their capacity to see the light, right? Ain't they writing about that in Virginia around the same time? Henry Moore delighted in retelling the goriest Spanish tales about the Indians to show how demonic they were. Although Meade carried great weight with the English Puritans, they realized that even he could be wrong. He claimed that various events in the Book of Revelations would occur in 1642, and they did not. Besides, the settler missionaries found matters in Massachusetts Bay Colony quite different from Meade had described. They found docile, friendly Nagas, friendly Indians, and India Superior both. We was friendly, huh? Some of whom wanted to be Christians. Ain't that some? They established schools for them. They tried to get the great Jan Comenius to use Harvard as the center of universal enlightenment for Indians. And then we do a drop showing that Harvard was originally an Indian school, that a lot of these Ivy Leagues were originally Indian schools with the sole purpose of brainwashing the Naga. And now they don't want to let you in, right? You built that school. It's an Indian school. Skull and bones, right? Massacre. Whose skull? Whose bones? Whose graveyards? Whose grave sites are these? Wow. Body bag on body bag. They translated the scriptures for the Indians. Wow. The missionaries right there in Harvard. Right there in Harvard. You got the link. Make sure you get the fine print, man. The missionaries began to suspect something radically different was going on in the environment of Boston, namely that the pure English Christians were baptizing and converting Indians who were Hebrew. Ain't that something? These pure Christians are converting these devilish Indians who are the Jews. That's a paradox if I never heard. You're saying the Creator's people, you want to call them children of Satan, but they're Jews? Even if they're Jews out of code, they're still not the children of Satan, unless you're calling the Creator Satan. Make it, hashtag, make that make sense. I'm just reading about the Jewish Indian theory, boss. What? Let me read that again. So they began to suspect something radically different was going on in the environs of Boston. Namely, that these Christians were baptizing Hebrew. Okay? Make it make sense. Well, I'll make it make sense because they're doing it in your Christian churches today. They know you Hebrew, but they're baptizing you in the name of Zeus, baptizing you in the name of Yahweh, even in Israelite camps. Christ Church this, Christ Church that, united in Christ that, Christ. You still talking Greek? You still talking Greek? You know Hebrew, but you still talking Greek. You still calling on Christ, but you know Hebrew. Yahweh son of this, son of that. You still using their doctrine, man. With all the drop you got, you still using their doctrine. You can't keep the code. You can't just take the code and build off the code. You still got to build through JC Yahweh. You still got to give honors to their son. You think that's the son of the Creator? In your heart bone, you believe that? They're trying to figure out this conundrum of baptizing Hebrews. Remember, they were trying to baptize the Mongols, right? And the $1,000 book we reading, Medieval Empire of the Israelites. They're even saying that they couldn't even baptize the Mongols. Like, even they couldn't even do that, right? The Mongols just means great ones. We talking Genghis Khan, we talking Press John. All these are great ones. All these are more, right? So they had the same way they were trying to baptize Genghis Khan and them, or they're trying to baptize the people of Prester John and them. They're trying to baptize you today. They're trying to baptize you back then, the Indians, the Jews. They are baptizing and converting Indians who were the Jews, Hebrews, Judah. They're converting Judah. And if the Indians were Judah, if the Indians were Judah, if the Indians of India Superior are the tribes of Israel, an enormous missionary effort would be needed. I'm out of here. I'm out of here, boss. You got the job. Y'all read the rest. I'm out. I can't take no more. I can't take no more of this. It's 5:34 in the morning right now. Shout out to my Aqua. She said, "Hey man, when do you sleep, man?" I said, "Man, sleep is a treasure, boss." I just feel like if I don't pop this off, it's if I do this drop a day later, it's a day too late, man. I got a lot to do today. I just thought about it. I got a lot to do today. All right, so I'm gonna go quick, but not too quick, cause either way, man, I'm popping off. We popping off. I'll sleep later, man. All right, I promise. So check it, man. Look, let's get that back one more time. One more time. And I think we read this back in 2016 or something. So just let you know, we been on. We been up. You know what I'm saying? We've been up on this, right? So something's radically different going on in Boston. They are baptizing Hebrews, converting Indians who were Judah. And if the Indians are Judah, they're going to take an enormous missionary effort or military effort to subdue and convert Hebrews to Christianity. But not no more, boss, because you just walking up to the church now. They got you. But these churches didn't exist over here before generations and generations and generations of conditioning and brainwashing. Convert or die to their Jesus. So on behalf of the New England Missionary Society, a volume was written by the Norfolk preacher Thomas Thorogood called Jews in America, or the probability that the Indians were Jews, are Jews. This was to be dedicated to Charles I. Come on. Old Charlesy boy, right? Black ass Charles. Let's go, man. But his overthrow delayed the publication of the book. The job of writing a preface to it was given to John Dury, perhaps the most active millenarian, theoretician, and the Puritan revolutionary. Dury, 1596 to 1680, a Scot born in Ireland, student of the Walloon Seminary in Leiden, was a pastor in Germany. He then began a lifelong campaign to reunite all of the evangelical churches in Europe and travel all over. Okay. Super hijack. So he traveled from Sweden to Poland, Germany, Holland, Switzerland, France, England. He lived for a while in Amsterdam and was one of Cromwell's chief agents on the continent. He was in England when presenting with Thorogood's text. He immediately put it in the context of some providential data he had heard from Jews in Holland, especially from Manasseh and Israel. The lost tribes of Israel would reappear. Listen closely. This has everything to do with what's happening to us today. Listen closely. The lost tribes of Israel would reappear just before the millennium. This is the whole meat and potatoes behind the millenarians, man. The the millennialists, whatever, you know what I mean? So you Nagas are supposed to reappear before the millennium, right? Which Dury was sure would occur in 1655. So some say 1666, others say 1655. Either way, it's a ballpark. We see where we at. He had heard from a Jewish jeweler in The Hague, Hague, that some of the lost tribes had been located east of the Holy Land, where Columbus is looking for the Holy City, right? And Columbus is a millenarian, my naga. And he's looking for the Holy City in America. And they know that there's a problem, a crisis, that these Indians are Hebrews. And if they convert these Hebrews to Christianity, it's going to take an enormous military or missionary effort. Because military goes on a mission. Military goes on missions. Missionaries. He had heard from the Jewish jeweler Hall that Some of these tribes are located east of the Holy Land in Persia or in Afghanistan. Persia is easily Parius. You put the S in front of the IA, it's Parsia. Parsia. Persia, Parsia, Mexico, man. But let's go. Cathay, right? Afghanistan, we already dug on who Afghan is. Now we're just talking Jeremiah. And now we're just talking Saul, tribe of Benjamin. Let's go. He had heard from the most learned Jewish writer of the time, his friend and co-worker Manasseh ben Israel, that a Portuguese Moor, Antonio de Montesinos, had encountered a Jewish tribe in the Andes Mountains. He encountered some Hebrews. Andes connects with the cities of gold, Managa. 7 cities of gold. Watch the cartoon. Deep in the Andes Mountains, they're looking for the cities of gold. He knew that Manasseh had Montesinos who came to Amsterdam in 1644, give his account before a notary. So Dory, who was at the time planning to set up a college of Jewish studies in London with Manasseh as one of his 3 professors, wrote Manasseh for a copy of the Montesinos report. He was duly sent it. Then Dory and his fellow millenarian Nathaniel Holmes wrote Manasseh to see if he made out of this what they did, namely that the Indians were the lost what? The lost what? Tribes, all right? So they came to the same conclusion. Nathaniel Holmes, the millenarian, Manasseh, Montesinos, all these scholars, the Portuguese Marano, who knew that there were Hebrews right there high up in the Andes, Managa. They wrote this report. They were setting up a college of Jewish studies in London at the time, and they came to a decision, namely that the Indians were the Hebrews, right? The Indians are the lost tribes of Israel. Really hidden tribes, because we were hidden right here in Asia, in America. And these are scholars and explorers coming to the same conclusion about who you are. And when you tell people today who you are, they laugh at you. They say it's impossible. They have cognitive dissonance. They can't compute this new information. But this is not new. This is 1600 information. They don't want to read a book about this. They want to read some out of Africa stuff. They want to read some Afrocentric stuff. They want to read some Atlantean stuff. They don't want to connect with pre-Atlantis, ancient world. The correspondence printed in this preface to Thorogood's book shows Manasseh being most cautious, unconvinced, until he was finally willing to say that the group encountered by Montesinos could be part of the lost tribes, while the rest of the inhabitants of the Americas were migrants from Asia. Where's Asia? Huh? Stop playing. Cut it out, y'all. Cut it out. What do you mean? Let's go. Holmes immediately pointed out that this meant that the climax of world history was at hand. The climax of world history was at hand in the 1600s because the lost tribes were beginning to reappear, and that was part of the prophecy that they're getting out of their new text, is that the second coming is going to appear once the lost tribes reappear, and thus, they can convert these lost tribes into found tribes by introducing them to JC, right? So rather than write another letter, Manasseh wrote his famous work, The Hope of Israel, which appeared in 1650 in Spanish, Latin, Hebrew, and English, and in Dutch a few years later. The English edition, dedicated to the Revolutionary Parliament of England, was translated by a friend of John Milton's, the wild-eyed millenarian Moses Wall. All these millenarians, right? All these millenarians, Manaka, that's at the heart of things who's behind the blueprint, Manaka. This is what they believe to this day. This translation appeared in editions in 1650, 1651, 1652. The last two editions included an appendix in which Wall exchanged views with the reader and emphasized the millenary importance of his work, and that it should help bring about the conversation, or excuse me, it should help bring about the conversion of the Hebrews. So even when they knew you Hebrew, they still want to convert you. They still want to invade you. They still want to vanquish you. Papal Bull, all that. Papal Bull is 1452. You telling me this is 200 years later and they're writing about us being Hebrews and converting us still 200 years after the Papal Bull? You're telling me these Indians are Hebrews and you subjugated them, searched them out, and vanquished these people? Oh boy. Oh boy. Even prior to Wall's translation and Manasseh's own publication in Spanish, Hebrew, and Latin, his text of Montezino's report and his views were having reverberations on both sides of the Atlantic Ocean. When Edward Winslow in 1649 published a work entitled The Glorious Progress of the Gospel Among the Indians in New England, manifested by 3 letters under the hand of the famous instrument of the Lord, John Eliot. The work was dedicated to Parliament and the Council of State. In the preface, Winslow said that there are 2 great questions. Managa, this is what you got to listen up to. And we're going to get some of that center of the world drive for the dismount. All right. All right, let's go. Listen closely. This is crazy. This is crazy. All right. The work was dedicated to Parliament and Council of State. In the preface, Winslow stated that there are 2 great questions. 2 great questions. I said 2 great questions, which have troubled ancient and modern writers and men of the greatest depth and ability. So this question troubles all of Hijack City. This is a crisis. This is a problem. They are troubled. These 2 great questions have troubled ancient and modern writers. They are troubled. It's a crisis. It's a problem. And the men of greatest depth and ability, they have tried to resolve. 1, what became of the 10 tribes of Israel? So the 2 great questions, and one of them that troubles these people the most, is what happened to the Israelites. The other one is, where did the American Indians come from? I can't make this stuff up. The 2 greatest questions that have troubled these people are both about us. Where did we come from? And where did we go? What became of the tribes of Israel? What happened to us after we were vanquished, reclassified, turned into bywords, Black and African American? What became of the tribes of Israel? That's number 1 of their 2 greatest questions. And number 2 is, where did the American Indians come from? Well, if the Americans are Israelites, then I would suggest the Indians came from Israel. Now, where's Israel? Where's Jerusalem originally? Where's the promised land? Back to that, Columbus is coming to conquer the holy city. A godly minister of this city, no doubt John Dury, wrote to Rabbi Ben Israel, a great doctor of the Jews, now living in Amsterdam, to find out if he knew what became of the 10 tribes. According to Winslow, Manasseh's answer was that they were certainly transported to America. or they're originally from America, right? For Winslow, it was wondrous that God had opened the hearts of the Indians to the gospel just when so many eminent divines expect the conversion of the Jews. Ain't that so? Dury wrote an appendix to the work in which he stressed that the gospel being revealed to the Indians led many judicious and godly theologians to believe that the conversion of these Hebrews is at hand. That's all they want to do is convert the people of HaWah. All they want to do is convert you, Manage. All these Christian churches on your block is there for a reason. This conquest, this invasion, it's happened for a reason. Because there's an Indian problem. They need to convert the tribes of Israel. They need to convert the people of Prester John. Because if you believe what you should believe, and if you're connected with your creator only, then they have no chance. They have to tune you out of your 432. They have to put you in a most excellent new tune, which is Christianity to them. They have to change your tune. They got to change your frequency to affect you. The missionaries are very important for them because if they can get your mind, then they can get your body. They can get your heart bone, they can get your mind. The great work, huh? The conversion of the Hebrews is at hand. In fact, Dory reported that, quote, it is the expectation of some of the wisest Jews now living that about the year 1650, either we Christians shall be Mosaic or else that they themselves Jews shall be Christians. Whoa. Either we're going to believe in their Mashiach or they're going to believe in ours. We got to make a push for them to believe in our JC, because if not, we have no hope if they convert us to, the real messengers, right? The books of M.H.O.E, the code. The one shepherd forever, Kandawi. No, don't let them have that, because they're going to convert us. So either we Christians shall be Mosaic or they themselves, Jews, shall be Christians. Jews shall be Christians. No indication was given of who these wisest Jews were. We know Dury was a close friend of Manassas, and he probably knew Rabbi Judah Leon Templo. Dury added that those sometimes poor, now precious Indians may be as the first fruits of the glorious harvest of Israel's redemption. Thus, Dury connected the missionary activities of Reverend John Eliot in Massachusetts with the imminent, expected conversion of the Hebrew. Both the English translator Moses Wall and the anonymous author of the letter to the learned Jew, Manasseh ben Israel of Amsterdam, and to all his brethren there and elsewhere, grace and mercy and truth from the Most High God be granted and given, saw the news in the Montesinos report as evidence that the Jews should convert right away. In the anonymous letter, Manasseh was urged over and over again to convert and to convince his brothers to do the same because of the discovery that the Indians were Jews, the lost tribes. Our colleagues here, Henry McCollin and Gerald Nahan, have shown in their preface to their recent French translation of Manasseh's work that Manasseh did not become a believer in the Jewish Indian theory, but held to the view that just part of the lost tribe had been discovered. Manasseh, after printing Montezino's report, carefully delineated the problem. There are so many opinions about the origins of the Indians that it is very hard to tell which is true. There is no scriptural statement on the matter. Manasseh said that he had only written about solid and infallible things, as those things are which concern our law. But his friends asked for his view about where the lost tribes were. One has to have faith, Manasseh claimed, that all people are descended from Adam and Eve and the survivors of the flood, so the Indians must be part of the human dispersion after the flood and the Tower of Babel. Second, the 10 tribes, as described in 2nd Esdras, were scattered not all at once, nor to one place. Then it is reasonable to expect some possibility of dispersion throughout the world. The Chinese Jews, the Jews of South India, of Ethiopia, these are all melanated areas, are they not? All seem to be remnants of the lost tribes. So the people encountered by Montezinos are probably also part of the lost tribe that was driven from Tartary, boss. Tartary, or Grand Tartary. And if there's a Grand Tartary, then there's a Little Tartary, right? This is the Great Tartary. This is the Great Asia. This is India Superior, right? That means there's an India Inferior, right? So this can't be Asia Major, India Superior, and Grand Tartary and not be the ancient world. It's impossible. You telling me this is Grand Tartary, Asia Major, and India Superior, and Cathay? Paradise, man. Paradise is paradise, man. Come on. Let's get a little more. And there's a lot more to read. And if you want me to keep going with this, y'all just let me know. Hey, drop. Hey, keep your foot on their neck. If I see that, then I'm going to keep going with this document. All right, so let's go. Last couple paragraphs. So Montezinos probably are part of the encounter. So these people encountered by Montezinos are probably also part of the lost tribe that was driven from Tatar across some land bridge in the Pacific to America. Now we're talking about Antioch. The reemergence of the lost tribes fits with other evidence that the fulfillment of God's promise is at hand, the redemption of Israel. The 10 tribes will emerge and return to rejoin the other 2 in Israel in the near future. And that was 1600s. Manasseh said he saw reason to doubt Montezino's story, but as it was a human account, it could not be proven. However, it fitted with a lot of other data and helped explain the peopling of America. With part of the lost tribe, plus other branches of humanity descending from our biblical parents. Nonetheless, in all the excitement that followed in England with the publication of Thorogood, Manasseh, and Montezino's narration, the Jewish Indian theory was truly launched. Manasseh was invited to England to confer with Cromwell about fulfilling the final prophecies before the redemption of Israel. They had to fulfill their portion, right, before you were redeemed, right? That's crazy, right? During envisaged or like envisioned, the Jews, the lost tribes, including the Indians and the Carites. How you gonna throw in the Cara? The Carolina, the Caracatay, the Cara means black in Turkic. Cara. How you gonna throw the Cara at Nagas that's on Preston 124? Just finished 123. They gonna throw in Cara? They just gonna throw in Cara? So he envisioned the Hebrews, right? The tribes, lost tribes, including the Indians, and the Cara marching into the Holy Land because Prester John was leading the Cara. Katai is Cathay. Catholic comes from Cathay or Katai, which means promised land or pure land. Cathay. 1660, after the Restoration, a new edition of Thorogood was issued, in which the missionaries to the Indians in Massachusetts wanted to distance themselves a little from Manasseh's non-Calvinist theology, but they were also filled with more and more data about Indian customs, practices, and languages that indicated that the Indians were Hebrews, albeit a bit degenerated in their behavior. Yeah, we got out of code. Dury wrote a new preface reporting that the Dutch student had had a vision that Charles II would be restored and that he would bring about the conversion of the Jews. Man, I can't make this up. Charlesy boy just wanted to convert us, man. That's why you see that picture of him on the panel, the Lima, Peru panel, and he's bringing that his own towel, right? He's bringing his own cross. He's bringing a conversion. That's their prophecy. Later, English colonists like Quaker William Penn found it easy to discover signs of Judaism among the Indians. Penn wrote back after his first winter in Pennsylvania that it was like being in Duke Street in London, surrounded by Jews. Bishop George Berkeley apparently started with a similar view until he met drunken Indians in Newport, Rhode Island. Wow, okay, so, whoa. I gotta keep going for because they're gonna bring in the Negroes specifically. First, they're just talking Indians and Hebrews, and then they're gonna bring in the missing piece, right? The black people, right? So the Jewish Indian theory had its virtues. It explained where the red men come from, obviated the need for revising our historical framework by adopting some kind of polygenetic theory about the origin of mankind. Some scholars show that the evidence of Manasseh and Montesinos left much to be desired. In the 18th century, when scientific anthropology developed, one of its main tasks was to explain the varieties of mankind. Some of the workers in this new science were monogynous, insisting on a single source of human beings, but then explaining the differences as due to there being several species of men. Linnaeus, Buffon, Blumenbach, to name a few. So these are their species. All right, you see it. We got to dig on it. To name a few, divided mankind into 4 or 5 species. The Indians were one species, but rather a dismal one, ranking far below the Caucasians and the Asiatics in intelligence and moral character. And who's doing this judging of morality, right? The biblical aspect was toned down to a mere assertion that all mankind came from a common source. That's what they do now. They just say we all one people, yada yada. Who cares if you Hebrews? You ain't special. We all come from God, yada yada, right? So the differences among men were due to climate, education, environment, diet. Same thing they do today. Presumably the defects of Negroes. Defects of Negroes. So the same way they're putting down the Negro, they're putting down the Indian. Now they're bringing it together. Now they brought us emphatically into the equation. Now you got to bring in the Negro, you got to bring in the Indian, and you got to bring in the Hebrew and put them down at the table and saying y'all the same people. The Negro is the Hebrew or the Hebrew, which is the indigenous superior Naga in India superior. Is the Hebrew, is who you're calling the Negro or the Naga or the Negus, the Khan. They're saying defects of Negroes and Indians could be remedied by bringing them up to the level of Europeans. Some of the same people asserted that this could also be done for Jews if they could be brought out of the ghettos. And who's in the ghettos today? Negroes. I can't make this shit up, man. If they brought these niggas out the ghettos, secularized and if they integrated them, right, to behave like others in their locales, okay. In contrast, some forms of polygenesis were being propounded. Hume offered a pretty drastic version that left the blacks inferior forever. left the blacks inferior forever, just like the Indians, while they converting the Hebrew. His cousin Lord Kames offered a more modest view that some peoples were created after Adam and Eve. That's what we say. Uh, there's the creation, there's the creator's creation, and there's the creation's creations. That some people had the magic, the magi to create people. But now you're getting into the big head Yakub flow, right? Against Kames, a new form of Jewish Indian theory was offered that took a providential significance in the millenarian excitement surrounding the American and French revolutions, just after a pretty detailed debunking of the Jewish Indian theory by Captain Bernard Romans appeared, offering a possibility of divine multiple creation. All the theories we got, they already had hundreds of years ago, but they saying we tripping, right, man? James Adair published his History of the American Indians in London, 1775. Love to the great work by Carter Mayo, breaking this down as well with this James Adair. Adair had been trading with the Indians in the southern English colonies of America for 40 years. All right. In this work, he offered detailed linguistic, cultural, social, and historical evidence that the Indians were Hebrew, based on his close observation of their speech and practices. He assured his readers that, quote, the public may depend on the finality of the author and his descriptions are genuine. Lord Kames, on the contrary, was offering reasons contrary both to revelations and facts. Then Adair contended that from his most exact observations, made over 40 years, that the Indians lineally descended from the Israelites. Body bag for the illusion. They got an Indian problem, boss, because these Indians are Israelites, boss. They're trying to convert Israelites, boss. They're doing genocide on Israelites, boss. Papal bulldog. They're vanquishing, subduing, capturing, taking movable and immovable goods, taking land from Israel. Actual Israel. Called Negro. Called Indian. You put that together that these Negroes are Indians and that these Indians are Hebrew. By default, you have the Indians being Negro. And that's why their foot has been on your neck bone. And they won't let up. Because once an invader invades you, they got to keep invading. They can't let up or else they lose everything they've been working for. So you got to have a plan. You got to keep the code. You need divine intervention at this point. His evidence of the Hebrew characteristics of the Indians went on for 400s of pages, and at the time, Adair's evidence was taken most seriously by American historians, like Hannah Adams, who wrote an important history of the Jews and appended some of Adair's texts. Manasseh's Hope of Israel was reissued. Some of the religious thinkers involved in the American Revolution saw Adair's findings as justification for a providential interpretation of what was happening in their colonies. Charles Crawford, an English nobleman who had moved to America and who became an important abolitionist and millenarian, saw America's role as that of the bringing about the final providential godly events before the millennium, the freeing of slaves, the finding of the lost tribes, the conversion of the Jews, Hebrews. More significant, Crawford indicated that Crawford indicated was that a rabbi who converted to Christianity came to Philadelphia to live with the lost tribe Indians to prepare to lead them to Jerusalem. Apparently, the converted rabbi gave up and became a Catholic instead, official instead. A more important figure, Elias Baduniat, Badunat took up the Jewish Indian cause. Badunat, a lawyer from New Jersey, was one of the leaders of the American Revolution and possibly the most important figure in the beginning of American fundamentalism. Adair showing his findings to Boudinot's close ally, Governor Livingston of New Jersey, before the book was published in London. Boudinot heard about this and was very intrigued. He brought a copy of Adair's book right after the Revolutionary War. He wanted to make it his own test. A friend who knew Hebrew sought out an Indian tribe that had never encountered Europeans before. He spoke to them in Hebrew and decided from their responses that they were Jews. So he just said, man, I'm gonna put it to my own test. I'm gonna speak some Hebrew to these Indians. And they say, yeah, they are Jews. They are Judah. They are Israel. Boudinot saw the American Revolutionary events as pre-millennial developments. He served as the head of the Continental Congress during the Revolution, was the head of the Revolutionary State at the end of the war. He was the patron of Alexander Hamilton. When the United States was formed, he became a congressman. Wow. And later director of the Mint, like his millenarian predecessor, Sir Isaac Newton. Boudinot became convinced during the French Revolution that the events predicted in the Book of Revelation were taking place when Thomas Jefferson was elected president. Anaga, this is recent history, right? Boudinot resigned from the government, telling Jefferson that he could not serve in a Deist government and that he had to prepare for the Second Advent. He founded the two most important fundamentalist organizations in the United States, the American Bible Society and the Society for Ameliorating the Condition of the Jews. Did you know about this? Society for Ameliorating, AMELIORATING, the condition of the Jews. He checked with the United States congressman who had been a governmental Indian agent who confirmed Adair's claims. Then Boudinot wrote the Star in the West, pointing out that the Indians, the lost tribes, would lead the way into the millennium by returning to Jerusalem. Boudinot, Crawford, Jonathan Edwards, and other religious interpreters of the American and French revolutions could see in the Jewish Indian theory an all-important role for the indigenous Americans in developing God's climax to human history, and could see America as central in the drama. Other millenarians, especially British, from Sir William Jones onward, found evidence that the lost tribes were in Afghanistan. Where's Afghan? Who's Afghan? We're talking tribe of Benjamin. And that the millennial drama involved true Christians of Europe locating the Afghan lost tribes. Wow. You gotta know who Afghana is, right? And so creating the final moments of history without need of any Americans, native or immigrants. Super duper heavyweight. Oh yeah, we surfing the wave. They have to all the cons, man. That's dropping that drop. And when we talk about searching for HaWah and Kanda, we talking about Israel's return. They're talking about Israel's return, but in a very backwards. I mean, everything's in reverse. To them, finding us, man, to convert us and get us ready for JC. For us, we return after we seek the Creator and stop being the harlot. And then we could be on our David flow because there ain't no confusion about this Messiah business. We have a con forever. Ezekiel 37, Ezekiel 34, Jeremiah 30, Psalms 89, Hosea 3. On and on we go. We got confirmation and multiple witnesses that David will rise again. They keep mentioning Afghan. We talking Afghanistan. They talking Afghanistan. We talking Afghanistan. Love to Shavei.org. SHAVEI. Who's Afghan? We're talking the Afghan royal family, the Pathans, the Pushtans. There's also speculation that the Afghan royal family has its roots in the tribe of Benjamin. First published in 1635. We're talking the same time. 1600s, right? I can't make this up. In a book called Mansanhi Afghani, the tradition has it that King Saul had a son called Jeremiah. Now you read Jeremiah 30, he's prophesying about the return of King David. And David and Saul had their thing, and Jeremiah is the son of Saul. And Jonathan and David were linked in, right? So Jeremiah had to be linked in with David too, to be even prophesying on David. David died. All right, so hold up. The tradition has it that King Saul had a son, Jeremiah, who had a son called Afghan. All right. Afghan is the son of Jeremiah and the grandson of King Saul. Let it be clear. Okay. Jeremiah died around the same time as King Saul's death, and Afghana was raised by King David. We just read Hosea 3 talking about David is king forever. In the end of day. And remained in the royal court during King Solomon's reign. Afghana has a whole history. I'll leave this link again so you know this ain't no play. So don't let them just bring them Afghana like you ain't been talking about Afghana the whole time. This is Preston, we just finished Preston 123. This might as well be Preston 124, man. But it's all good. We coming in hot. We coming in hot. Sir William Jones Allward found evidence that the lost tribes were in Afghana, Benjamin, grandson of King Saul. Right? And that the millennial drama involved the true Christians of Europe locating the Afghan lost tribes, talking Benjamin, and so creating the final moments of history without need of any Americans, native or immigrant. But we still talking Hebrew and indigenous. Badunat, Crawford, and others rejected the Afghan theory. Some combined the Afghan and Jewish Indian theories, saying the tribes were scattered. Some came to America, some moved to the east, to Afghanistan. And it gets deeper. It's going to start bringing in the Mormons. It's going to go back and start talking about the Negroes again. So I'm going to leave it right here for now. I know it's a lot of great drop to continue with on page 74. Man, they start talking about the craniums, man. man, I just kind of get this part right here. They're talking about craniums, racial differences in terms of capacity difference. All right, just belly flopping. So Dr. Samuel Morton of Philadelphia in his Crania America and his Crania Egyptica measured skull capacities by filling skulls with pepper seed. Okay. And then weighing how much pepper seed could go into each skull. So this is their science. Morton had the largest skull collection in the world at the time. He found that the Indians and the Negroes had a lower cranial capacity than the Caucasians and Asiatics. So in other words, the Indians are the Negroes, and they both have these low cranial capacities, but they happen to be the Jews. That's crazy. He also found that the Indians from Canada in the north to Terra de Fuego in the south had the same capacity. So the Nagas way up in Canada all the way down to Antarctica had the same cranial had the same domes. On the basis of this, his disciples insisted that the Indians and Negroes were separate races which had separate origins. In other words, they were separate than everybody else. The Indians and the Negroes were separate races than everybody else. The Bible was not about them, and they had no role to play in the scriptural world. So this is their fall. This is the fall of the theory when they started bringing in this racism and this anthropological racism and trying to make it seem like they were superior because of some cranium. All right. The mound builders of the Ohio Valley and the uncivilized Indians were indigenous to the Western Hemisphere. They were an inferior race compared to the Asiatic or Caucasians. Come on. Morton's ethnology was adopted primarily as a scientific proof of Negro inferiority and as a justification for continuing the slave system in America. So we're going to pick this up. If y'all want me to, we're going to pick it up. And we're going to get back into this felicity business. And just right quick, when you talk felicity, I got a bunch of links. I'll just leave them for you. And we're going to get a couple videos right quick for the dismount. Felicity, unincorporated community, town established 1986. We got some of that dedicated to his wife. Now, it goes into the Keyshawn tribe. So who was there before these jabronis built this pyramid and put this church on a mound? All right. The Keyshawn, all right, tribe of Fort Yuma. They keep saying human. Sounds like human. It sounds like human. Fort Yuma Indian Reservation is located nearby. During World War II, the town was the site of Camp Pilot Knob, the U.S. Army's training center. So, of course, they built their training centers, their forts, and all this stuff on top of our kingdoms. You know what I'm saying? The town's key features are a 21-foot tall stone and glass pyramid, a church on a man-made hill, or is it an actual mound, right? And a museum of history and granite that we're going to look at a lot closer. The museum consists of dozens of granite panels, most of them over 100 feet long, weighing approximately 500 tons. Etched on the panels, historical records of humanity. All right, so we're going to get some more of this, but you tell me, man, did this man just come build some stuff? Or is this a lot deeper? We got to do a lot more investigating. Keyshawn, they say, okay. And again, I'll leave this link. You can look a little further into Jackie's. Do some cross-referencing, see what you can find. Look into Camp Pilot Knob, you know what I'm saying? Anything distinctive, you know what I'm saying, we can pull out of the designs for this Camp Pilot, you know what I'm saying? Their designation during this World War II situation. I mean, they got a lot more to dig on, that's all I'm saying. The Kashan people, well, that's interesting because it sounds a lot like the Quiche people like we got in the Papua. And whenever they do this, they say, oh, this, don't confuse this with that. Typically, it's because there's a link between this and that they don't want us to research. So as you dig on this Kishan, Kuechan, that's Khan, Managa. Kekan. Khan, Chan is Khan. You're talking Khan. And this Keka or Keshwa languages, Quechua languages, all this stuff is all connected because when you dig on these Quechua, you're talking about the root. When you talk about mound builders, you're talking about the root people. These Quechua languages, Quiche languages, and the Papu Vu we've been given the framer, shape, of flow. All this is connected with the root language and the root people. So you can't say that these people in the Andes and in Peru got nothing to do with these people in California and Arizona and Utah and Judah. You can't say Jerusalem has nothing to do with Judah. But you would have to see clearly, right? So I'm leaving this here for now. Definitely might have to be a part 2 to this. I tried to get, do what I can, but LA Basin, San Diego, Colorado, Gila River. It's at the Yuma Road, The Yuma route was a trail that ran from South New Mexico and reached Ki-Hwa HaWah. We keep saying Ki-Hwa HaWah. We keep saying the name Hawaii all over these important place names. HUA is Hawaii HaWah. The key is the key. Chi power, key, right? Who got the key? Ki-Hwa HaWah. And this is where this route was connected, almost like a Silk Road type of flow. You know what I'm saying? So you dig on this history of Yuma, man, as we definitely got to dig on it too. The Yuma Kikan or Kishkwa. Let's go. They say, please, boss, don't connect us with the Kishwa people. The Kikwa people may refer to any of the Aboriginal people of South America who spoke Kikwa languages. So how can we not connect the Kikan with any of these Aboriginal people of South America? Oh, don't confuse it. What you mean? You confusing me because you telling me that it refers to any of these Aboriginal people, specifically South America, but that's all connected with North America. Stop it. Who speak Kikwa languages, which originated among the indigenous people of Peru, so Peru can't connect to Cali. See, that's hijack city. They can't tell us who we are. They can't tell us who we're not. Some historical Kikwa people, right? They got Kanka, right? So here comes the cons right away. Kanka. Kikan can't connect with the Kanka. And the Kanka can't connect with the Ganja. Uh-oh. Who lived in Hawaii, Velika, another Hawaii, Ki-Hwa HaWah, Hawaii, Velika. We got Hawaii, Aya or Awa, Cuzco. Come on, man. Hawanka people? Come on, another Hawaii. So we got the Ki-Hwa HaWah, we got the Hawanka Velika, and we got the Hawanka people, who are also the Wanka, almost like the Wakanda. Like Hawaii, right? Then it goes to the Inca and the Kinka here, and you know what I mean? So another Khan in the Conari Ecuador flow. These are cons, my nigga. Right in our face bone. I told you that this Felicity flow reminds me of the YZX flow, and I'll leave it for you to go through again just to get the familiarity, because these are mineral springs. When you keep reading, it talks about what, 12,000 acres. So this one we're getting in Arizona, the pyramid flow got 3,000 acres. This is 12,000 acres surrounding the springs. And he used the springs to bottle his water. He bottled his water from the fresh mineral springs, providing drinks to travelers through hot deserts. And my noggin, it started healing people, and more people wanted it. And eventually, the BLM had to take it over, right? Interesting story. We got this. Let's go get the drop. We got a whole drop on this. All right, we're going to keep going. But some say that the fountain of youth is over here. Some say, and why would they call it ZZ? Why ZZ? Yeah. And all this is in California, including the Felicity flow. Now, the Dawes Act is important. I'm just going to leave it with y'all, because the Dawes Act gave them the right to do it. Regulate land rights on tribal territories within the United States, named after Henry L. Dawes, back to Massachusetts, that we just got out the Thorogood, out the Manasseh and Israel drought, right? So everything's happening in Boston, right? In Massachusetts. And it gave them the authority to regulate land rights on tribal land. It authorized the President of the United States to subdivide Native American tribal, communal land into allotments for Native American heads of families and individuals or whoever they deemed Native American. This would convert traditional systems of land tenure into government-imposed system of private property by forcing Native Americans to assume a capitalist or proprietary relationship with property that did not previously exist in their cultures. It allowed tribes the option to sell the lands that remain. And remember, Tecumseh was fighting these other tribes because they were selling off their land. And he said, yo, it's not our land to sell. We don't have a right to sell this land. This is a God-given land. This is HaWah-given land. We can't sell it. But through the Dawes Act, it made it just property. It allowed them proprietary relationship, capitalist relationship, to sell their land for pennies, man. Let's go. So when we talk about Yuma Indian Reservation and all this, part of the traditional lands of the Kikan people, established 1884, right? This is after the Tecumseh War, 1812. This is all what Tecumseh and Chickamauga were fighting against. From the former Fort Yuma, the reservation has a land area 68 square miles or 60, something like that, in southeastern Imperial County, California. And this is who signed off on this Felicity situation being the center of the world. West Yuma County, Arizona, near the city of Yuma, Arizona. Both county and city are named for the tribe. As of 2010 census, the population was 2,189. 1910, the community of Bard, California was created after the eastern part of the reservation was declared surplus under the Dawes Act. Now they got casino on reservation land. Let's go. Man, it hurts your heart, bone, right? So research the Ohaya or HaWah, Hawaii. Can't make this up. Hawaii, like Hawaii, right? And this pilot knob, just like we just read about Camp Pilot Knob, there's another pilot knob that I find very interesting. In Dakota, still talking Native Americans, and they call this a sacred place, boss. So if this pilot knob's a sacred place, then I will concur that this pilot knob is also a sacred place where they are building churches. And who's the good dragon? I mean, what's this got to do with the good dragon at the center of the world? Why would he write a children's book that costs $500? $500. Everything you need to know about the center of the world. They building churches. They got Camp Pilot Knob, which is a sacred place. They're putting churches and pyramids on sacred ground, just like they did in Delaware or Dakota, Shalom. And a Native American gathering place is the same flow. Burial ground of the Mendota Heights, Minnesota. Shout out to my Minnesota knockers, man. It was the site of the 1851 Treaty of Mendota between the United States and federal government and the Dakota people, who considered the site sacred because now they could sell their land. Now they were giving up their land, right? But this is a place of a gathering of the people. reference to the riverboat. Stop it. We talking about the Ark of the Covenant, man. We talking about Noah's Ark, man. We talking about a different type of pilot. We might even be talking about dragons and stuff, man. We might be talking dragons and stuff. Watch out for us, man. Might be talking dragons. And lastly, let's begin to these videos for the dismount. I'm going to leave the link to the Papal Sacred Book of the Quiche people, which again is like the Kekan people or Quichuan people, you know what I'm saying? Now we're talking Maya, and this is where you're going to get the frame or shape or flow. And remember when they came over here, it was all about the framer and the shaper. Man, we got to take our time with this again. we got to get it like it's the first time again. Con. Framer. Sakol refers to one who makes something by putting things together, i.e. a building from stone or adobe, a meal from various ingredients, or a woven cloth from individual threads. Betal, shaper, refers to one who makes something by modeling or molding pottery from clay, a sculptor, carved stone. Like the frequency shapes you. The frequency, the vibration is the shaper. But mama got to put the ingredients together to make a fine meal. San is amazing. The framer and the shaper is what they call Lord in the Bible, which goes back to the Strong's Concordance H1961. HaWah. Ha is the framer, the breath. Wah is the shaper, the foundation, the security, the vibration. HaWah, mother, father, you inhale. That's your mother, it's feminine. Exhale. Wah, that's your father, masculine. Wah, wah, every breath. We're talking breath, right? The frame and the shaper are the most frequently mentioned gods involved in creation. I'm talking pre-hijack of the world. We're talking about the center of the world. I'm talking about the creation of the world. And the most frequently mentioned powers is Wah. That's why you see Ki Hawa Hawa and Hawa this and Hawa that. Their names imply the creation involved giving frame and shape to matter that already existed rather than conjuring something out of nothing. That means that Hawa is using the elements, which are existence, which are frequency. This pair of gods, this power, was so important that soon after the Spanish conquest, Father Domenico de Vico used their quiche, we got Quichua, Quican, right? Quiche names to refer to the power of the Old Testament. Body bag for the illusion. Why can't the framer and shaper refer to the power of the New Testament? Because your JC ain't got nothing to do with me. And the most frequently mentioned power over here is the power, God, Hawa, Creator, mentioned in the Tanakh. It's letting you know that that power of the Tanakh is different than the power of this New Testament. Body bag. And their people are telling you that. Father Domenico's telling you that. He says, yo, that's the power of the Old Testament. That framer shaper flow, that's different. That hits different than this JC. Now you got to go through Christ? Nah. It has nothing to do with the Old Testament. It's a different power. It's a different vibration. It's an ancient love song. It's 432 verse 440. He who has begotten sons. Here we shall gather the manifestation, the declaration, the accounting of the sowing and the dawning by the framer and the shaper. She who has borne children. He who has gotten sons, they are called, along with Hanapu, possum, Hanapu coyote, great white peccary, coyote, Koti, sovereign, Quetzal, serpent, heart of the lake and sea, creator of the green earth, Ama, creator of the blue sky, Abba. With my right hand, I beat it out. He created the firmament, right? Creator of the sky. Whew. When they talk Kishe names, we're talking the root. Alam and Kajalam, mother and father. But Christianity just gives you a father walking around by himself. And they call mother wisdom or mother earth. But that's your mother. That's Big Mama. That's your breath. So much drop in the Papal. And it is said by the frame and the shape of the mother and father of life and all creation, the giver of breath. What is Ha? It is breath. The fifth letter of the Hebrew. Revelation, the giver of heart. They who give birth and give heart to the light everlasting, the child of light born of woman, son of light born of man. They who are compassionate and wise in all things. They call her wisdom, right? All that exists in the sky and on the earth, in the lakes and in the sea. Halal HaWah, Halal HaWah. And we will be back in Manasseh, Ben Israel in this world, talking Terra Fuego. Two great questions, right? Crazy talk, right? Who are you? Where'd you come from? We did a lot of reading so far, man. All praise HaWah. I'm glad you over here, my Nagi. Or else I just be reading to myself all day. Yeah, we did a lot of reading. that's, that's what I'm talking about. Okay, there we go. We got to dig more on the millenarian aspect of things to really get into the mind of the hijack so we know what the play is. Two great questions. Modern writers, the men of the greatest depth and ability, they have tried to resolve. One, what became of the 10 tribes of Israel? Two, where did the American Indians come from? And we can answer that by putting those things together the same way they have. They're the same people, boss. Where did we go? We ain't never left. We still right here. Where did we come from? Man, that's our business, man. Why don't you get out of our business, man? Man, let's get some quick drop here. This is SoCal Urbex. Let's hit it up, man. cold. The good dragon at the center of the world. Copyright 107, man. Fair use, man. Let's go. All right. So we getting real Google Earthy, you know. Let's check it out, man, from a dragonfly perspective. You telling me some man just came over here and started building this, man? Is that what you're saying?
To own a part of this company makes me feel like
all right, Jack.
Included. And
yeah, I got a principle for you. I got a principle. It starts with two questions. Who are these knockers, man? Telling me some man just came and started building all this, man? Look at this stuff. Look at this stuff, man. Look at this stuff, man. It's very structurally perfect. Let me mute this malarkey music. Let's keep my bell meditation in 4-3-2 going, man. While we dig on this. Y'all tell me what y'all see. They gonna point out what they see. You tell me what y'all see. What's this got to do with the dragon at the center of the world? I need Mud Fossil on this. Hey, Mud Fossil. Hey, come on into the game, man. I'm gonna tag Mud Fossil up in this. What are we seeing here, man? Just some modern stuff? Or ancient foundations of stuff? Are we looking at an ancient Naga city? They tried to blur out. Just call it a desert now. I don't know, my Naga. What do you see? Let's skip ahead a little bit. Felicity, California or Arizona? Look at this, man. What y'all think about this thing right here? What y'all think this is, man? It's pointing this out. Got his finger out. Pointing at the pyramid. Pointing at the pyramid. And you could tell this being there just has to be like breathtaking because you know you're on some sacred Naga land. You know this is sacred land if he's doing all this. They only put churches up, their churches on top of hills on sacred Naga land. And this is just a depiction. I'm gonna get a clearer one with the next video. These large 500-ton granite slabs, all one piece. I mean, how'd they get these things here? All this engraving on them. Look at this, man. You just want to say this man was in the Marines and did some parachuting. And he just said, I just want to build something. Get out of here, boss. You holding down a special area. You holding down somewhere in the middle of nowhere, right? Look at this, man. This is their preserved version of history. This is their preservation of history. But it took a lot of monies. This wasn't some man just spending his savings, man. This is cray-cray. This is cray-cray. They going quick. They won't even let us read it. They just going fast. You know, there's a lot of hidden jargon, a lot of different things in different languages. Come on, hijack. Come on, hijack. Let's go, man. Get out of here, boss. Look like Pac-Man. So you see what's up. You know, I'm just belly flopping, from what we can see. These random little hieroglyphs, man. Come on, man. Come on. This dude just came up and started just doing some hieroglyphs, man. How'd he learn how to speak the metaneta, huh? Look at this. The captains and the kings depart, man. What? What up, man? It's crazy, too. The tumult and the shouting dies. The captains and the kings depart. Still stands thine ancient sacrifice, and humble and the contrite heart, Lord God of hosts, you with us yet, lest we forget. Which leads me to an important point that it seems like they do a lot of rituals around this spot, man. I could just see them going ritual crazy around here, man. This stuff is just too, it's too specific, man, for it to be nothing. They got some empty slabs, history of humanity, and trust that this summary of human achievement and failure. And this is just yet, and look at the size of this mound. Look at this mound. Now that we can get a ground view. Oh, he brought in 150,000 tons of dirt, or is this a part of something that was already there? What kind of jargon they teach at this 12-member congregation church, man? Hell no, man. Hell no, bro. Y'all feel comfortable in this spot? I feel like running right now. Get out of here, man. Come on, boss. All right, let's look at this other video. Hey, this whole thing is titled "Code the Good Dragon." Huh? The good dragon at the center of the world. See, I need my India Superior Tibetan bowls, man, just to stay out of the frequency of hijack city, man. Get this hijack up out of here. Hijack city, man. Hijack city. All right, now this joint is from the New York Times, a tour of the center of the world. Tell me, it's play. And they have to call it some long-standing absurd joke, right? That's when they're really just trying to discredit something before you even know what they're saying. Is it a joke? Did they say it was in Wikipedia? Nah. It's actually been officialized by France and some other, imperial counties, man. So that's the hijack.
After I sold my company, we had bought some land after the Korean War. And I said to my wife, well, we're going to go sit in the desert and think of something to do. Museum of History in Granite started simply because I wanted to remember my parents and their friends and our friends. I thought it would be nice to have a serious monument sitting in the desert.
I mean, y'all believe this jabroni, or is it something deep?
So here will County granted this 1 year to be the official center of the world. He'll come place one bird at the center of the pyramid.
So that joint says official center of the world. Look at that. Official center of the world. I gotta take a screenshot of this, man. This is amazing. It's amazing. Official? Official center of the world? Let's go.
He'll come place one bird at the center of the pyramid. Face true north and make a wish. Congratulations. You've stood at the official center of the world.
Where did I find my research? The answer is that there are wonderful instruments called books.
Whoa.
As you can see, here we are discussing settling Arizona.
Wow. Where'd you find your research about the center of the world, boss? There's an amazing instrument called a book, he said. Yeah, we got books too. I think we know some similar drop.
Land grants, Indian presence, Indian wars.
Indian
now
presence.
Of the history of the U.S.
Indian war.
That was not easy. Early conflicts westward, prelude to revolution, independence, first president, slavery in America. Going from runaway slaves to a president. That is one of the wonderful things about America. Americans keep trying to improve the American experiment.
American, hold up.
10,000 years ago. Oh, yeah, okay, I get it.
American experiment.
American experiment. So to the hijack, this is just an experiment. Your captivity, your invasion, your genocide, it's just an experiment. It's the great experiment. Whose experiment? Is it an experiment to the Naga? Nah, it's real life.
They say to a president, that is one of the wonderful things about America. Americans keep trying to improve the American experiment.
Whoever uncovers this place in 10,000 years, they'll go, oh, yeah, okay, I get it.
I'm always asked the question of how I feel about it. Obviously, there's a certain pleasure in viewing the monuments where we have not made too many mistakes. But all I can think of are the empty panels and the work ahead.
Damn. It's just an experiment. It's just an experiment. For the dismount. For the dismount. Oh, man. Hijack City. It's just an experiment that they're calling the center of the world. Let's get this back for a stack. So this is a random person, apparently, just pulling up to the center of the world. Let's get it for the dismount. Love to River TV, RV or TV. Let's go.
I'm a bear. I'm coming out of hibernation, and Papa is hungry.
Man, they hungry for Hijack City. I mean, it's deeper than rap, man. You know, the problem, the crises of the indigenous Naga is deeper than, anything that we could read in book. It shakes them up at the core to even think about you. They have to keep creating lies. They have to keep repainting your images, building on top of your cities, your sacred places. Let's get this.
World sign out there. Look at the stone walkways, the buildings. There is some serious dough tied up in this. This cost a fortune.
Cost a fortune, huh?
Inside the pyramid thing, she said it's the center of the world. Okay. Check out the center of the world. And it's locked. Alright, center of the world is locked, so we can't go to the center. It's okay. There's supposed to be some marker on the floor in there. On the guided tour, you get to see it. Look at this, they got grass. They got green grass in the desert, which is hard to do. And look at all these granite tiles. There's supposed to be a huge foundation. These are built the last 4,000 years, believe it or not. If you go to their website, it's I'll have to find it for you. They got a ton of info. They had that on the wall in the gift shop. Korean War Memorial. Look at all the names.
It's a beautiful pieces of granite, man.
Darn.
500 tons.
Look at these things.
One slab, one solid slab of granite. Look
What's
at
this
this.
one? History of California and the history of Arizona. Huh.
Huh.
Kind of like a encyclopedia written in stone. What's this one? Princeton University. The Wall for All Ages. My goodness, you could spend a week here reading this stuff. Huh. The official center of the world. Oh, if you're in this part of the country, you got to check this thing out. Look at this.
Look at that mound. Look at the mound.
History of Arizona. Early days. Look, they got the intaglias on there. Sorry, this video would be 4 days long if I stopped and showed each one of these. This is something you gotta see in person. My goodness. Look at all of them. Looks like housing over there too. Just the amount of concrete walkways, the gravel, the stonework. Wonder who created all this. Look at that. They're etched in there. That's all etched.
Huh. Things that may go. Huh.
Look at these different languages.
Come on, boss.
Look how clear the pictures are.
I'm saying.
That'll last forever. There's the big old world right there. Somebody's working on them here. Look at the coupler mutiny on the bottom. Look, she's some type of engraver or something. Cool. Look how that church just sticks way out up on top of that hill, doesn't it?
That hill is mound. Look at these long granite slabs.
What's this one? History of humanity. Huh.
Huh.
My goodness.
My goodness.
They just keep going and going.
Wow.
4,000. So in 4,000 years, somebody's going to be walking through here and go, look what these guys did. Are you kidding?
Man, they got real clouds over here, man. That's crazy. No chemtrails. Huh. Ain't that something?
Early timekeeping, human languages.
Look at these paintings. I mean,
The story of us.
this is crazy. Look at that.
Now here's something. Little pyramid thing.
Is this some type of coding at the bottom?
All in different languages.
What's going on? Oh, come on, boss. Okay.
Look at that. That one says, watch your TV right there. Oop, got some blanks.
They still going. They still going.
Okay. Watch RV or TV.
Look at that mound, y'all.
And more blanks. They're still working. Work in progress. Look at this. This is something I bet universities and museums donate to.
It's just a man.
Something like this.
It's just a man building stuff. Don't mind him. He's just building stuff from the Korean War. Parachute guy. He ain't doing nothing over here, right? Center of the world, they say.
Oh, what do you say? Let's go up to church on the hill. Look at that picture. Look at the church with the blue sky and the clouds.
Wow.
There's a Kodak moment for you right there. Look at that.
Hijack
That'd make
City.
a great time-lapse shot.
Hijack City, y'all. Hijack City.
Well, it's not real big. Look how they angled the concrete. Everything is formed in angles.
It's too perfect, huh?
Who's looking back? I already asked.
Wow.
I'll try to find, they said there's aerial shots of it.
Belly flop.
We're on a guided museum tour.
Come on, boss. So what y'all think? You know, is it something? Is it nothing? You know, is it this center of the world? Is it something like it? Is it a joke? You know what I mean? Is it way too much money being involved and way too much going behind that for it to be what the cover story suggested is? Just some man that wanted to build in the desert? I mean, come on, man. It's just like the ZZYZX dude. And then they replace him with the BLM, right? They replace him with the BLM. But if it was nothing, why the BLM need to even move on it? Why they have to create their own, cash cow where people got to now spend money to go to ZZY? If it's nothing, why does it have to be some memorialized situation? They got their crib set up, man, right behind the center of the world. Could be something, boss. Could be nothing, boss, but I would love to know what this all has to do with the good dragon. $500 for a children's book, they say. Well, I'll be, man. Y'all let me know, man. And again, we'll be right back surfing wave. And Manasseh ben Israel and his world, two greatest questions of all time. Hey, man, what became of the Israelites and where did these Nagas in India Superior come from, man? Hey, y'all meditate on that because they dang sure are meditating on that, on converting us to their hijack. Stay up, suit up, choose up. Halal HaWah.